Okay, welcome everyone, and I have a very special guest here, Rajavanya, who is a conversion-focused websites expert. He's an expert in lots of things, but that's a specific title that we wanted to use today. So, welcome to you, Raj. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Trudy. Thank you very much.
So, as part of this 8 week program, we've been talking about a lot of moving pieces. We've been talking about, email lists, automation. We've been talking about online platforms, third-party platforms, using your own website. And I know that people always say to me, "Okay, but Trudy, we've heard the word funnels. Like when are we going to talk about the funnels?" And so, although Raj, I've had a look at his work. He's blessed with so many talents and skills, knowledge and experience, and I was drawn to him because of his funnels. That's the truth. From a designer perspective, I'm not a designer, but I saw his funnels and I absolutely loved them. But he also has so much experience in video editing. We're going to talk about video production in future chats. But today, Raj, I just wanted to ask you, could you maybe just simplify what the purpose of a funnel is for those that are new to that particular terminology?
The purpose of a funnel is to, of course, sell your products or convert people, as we call it in the marketing land. So a conversion is anything that moves people through a bunch of stages. So I think I'd like to talk with real world examples.
Yes.
A really good example is that people like to do window shopping, right? So that's a great example, because you can't expect to just people would just walk in and just buy your products, right? That happens, that does happen, but it's a really tiny percentage of people at any market. Right mindset, they have to be in the right state, they have to have the motivation and all of that. So if you're going to always expect that to happen, you are missing out on this huge list of people who are probably on the fence, maybe sometimes not ready yet, but they might buy in the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or weeks, anything like that. So that depends on the funnel size. So a funnel is just a bunch of things that are usually automated, right? It can be in the form of emails, some content and things like that, that moves them through these stages, right? So that ultimately, while they go through the funnel, they finally are feeling comfortable, they trust you, and they're ready to buy. So I'd like to say that they're delighted to buy from you, right? Rather than, I'm not sure and all of that. So that's what a funnel does for me.
Yeah,
Is,
and I
is
love
that,
the idea of
is
window
that clear
shopping
enough?
because, yeah, and I think that that's a perfect example. In some of our 8 week modules, we talk about a buying strategy and having taught behavioral and business psychology and sales, I guess. I think that people sometimes don't understand their own buying psychology, and I think the window shopping analogy is a perfect way of knowing that we all do buy differently. We all process the way that we, feel things, touch things, connect with something or information. So I think that's a perfect way of summarizing it. So what are some examples that you could give to us about the features of a funnel, or what's important to have in a funnel?
Oh, the first important thing is to get them into the funnel. So for that, the simplest thing is an opt-in. There are multiple ways, but any form to capture their information and name and email at the bottom, right? And that's the most important thing, because that's the entry point, right? So usually when you get them into a funnel, you give them something else of value in return, right? Otherwise, people are not going to be coming in. That's the most important thing. So because that's the entry point. And after they are entered into the funnel, you can send information, you can interact with them. There's a lot of things you can do, but that's the most important part. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a module in our 8 week program where I've actually spoken about lead generation, and I think that that's because the word funnel has become used worldwide by certain large platforms and companies. I guess people sometimes think that they can only have a funnel has to be designed in a particular platform. When we've talked about lead generation in general, we've talked about just a simple opt-in, which is what everyone's designing on this 8-week program. They're designing a lead magnet, and some of them are designing many lead magnets, who are then filtering people into a mini upsell of a course or another product, or providing more free information and information or templates or something, and then continuing to upsell people. What have you found that's been valuable? I mean, as I said, I love your funnels. Now, I can tell that there's a specific design of the funnel, but there's also really good copywriting. Can you share maybe a little bit about that? Because we do talk about some of that in our marketing, but I just want to give people an idea on what they can be looking out for with regards to a good design looking funnel.
It really, again, there's no one size fits all, but I can lay you out what can be considered like a high level overview of what you can enter. The number one thing you need to understand is that, like you said, the word copywriting. I think I always say copywriting is it's an irony that copywriting is called copywriting. I guess you get it, but maybe the viewers don't get it, because copywriting is the art of crafting words that help you sell, right? So unless you have taken a course or you've worked with a copywriter, you're missing out on a lot. That's the number one thing, right? Because most people, when they create a website, they'll talk a lot about themselves. They'll usually start with, since 20 years, we have been in this business. We are the best. We can do that. We can do this and all of that. And I say, for a person who's visiting you for the first time, they don't care. They're like, what is in this for me, right? What do I get out of this? How do I get to benefit out of this? That's what they get. So, but there's like a blind spot, right? Because you're the business owner and you want to be like, you put your heart into it, of course. And I'm not saying they're lying. So you can be getting very passionate about it, and you can start writing really like, oh, I put all this effort and all. But for the average viewer, they don't care. The only thing they care about, or the customer or your potential customer, the only thing they care about is, how can I benefit from this, and why should I buy from you, right? These are the only two things. So you start with that, and then there are a bunch of things you can send for the funnel, right? So one is building trust, right? Nowadays, what I do is, before I was doing only conversion, now I do a little bit of branding. So what I do is, one is about selling. So you talk about their problems, you talk about why you are different from your competitors, and then you talk about other customers, if you have any. If you're a new creator, maybe you might not have that, but you should definitely have a test group or a pilot launch or some sort of things like that. So the number one thing I would say that most people make mistake about is this: they get to talking about the product, selling, all of that, but actually, and in the base, they're trying to solve a problem, right? Like they're like, this is the solution, right? You have this question, this is the solution.
Yes.
You have this is the solution. But the problem is, people are not in a state of mind to listen to you, because they're being sold all the time. You open social media, people are trying to sell. So I think we have a natural block of, when somebody's trying to sell, we just put them all in the same sort of basket, right? So it's important to first establish some sort of a rapport and trust, saying, I understand you, right? So how do you do that? The number one thing you need to do is to talk about their problems. And this can be a really, like, when I work with clients, people think, but you're not telling anything, right? They actually tell me that, but you're not providing any solutions. You don't have to. People make content where they talk only about the target audience's problem, right? And people feel really good because, oh, finally somebody understands me.
Absolutely.
Right? They go, yes, I have this problem. Yes, you totally understand me. Yes. And sometimes you can weave your own story. Like, I never do things that I don't personally connect with, or I have some sort of a life experience with, right? Because otherwise there's a big disconnect.
Sure.
So when you also put your little bit of you tell your story a little bit, and you say, okay, I used to have this, I had this problem and all of that. The first thing you start to do is build a rapport, right? That's the number one thing. And after you do that is when you move them towards, okay, why does this happen to you? You talk about their problems, you describe how they are feeling, so they understand, right? Yes, this person understands me. And then from there, you move towards, you become the authority. Then you kind of get trust, and then they're
Yes.
like listening. Okay, now that I know you get me, tell me more. Right?
Yes.
So next step of the funnel is you tell them about why is this happening, because you're the authority right now. So you tell them, okay, you have this problem because this is happening. And usually you can go multiple layers, right? So there's always the surface layer. So, for example, I recently worked with some people in India where people are like, learning English is really hard for me, right? And why is this happening? There's loads of reasons. But one of the reasons that I have personally seen in India is that if you don't learn India, teachers used to kind of make fun of the kids, right? I hope
sure.
it doesn't happen right now, but when I was growing up, that was like a thing. So these people have a deep kind of shame and things like that. Whenever they speak English, they feel like, oh, everybody's going to laugh, and
Sure.
the old memories come up, right? Anyway, so the reason I explained you this is because you start from the problem, you explain what the problem is doing, Simca, and then you say, why is this happening? And then it's after all of that is happening is when you say, what is the solution, right? So these are the steps. And when you say the solution, you talk about your product, you talk about
yes,
how your product can help them, right? And these are sort of like the broad stages. We have a very technical, like a diagram to say people go from this to this to this.
yes.
At the end, you can also talk about what are all the multiple solutions, because usually there's rarely just one solution. So we also encourage them to talk about all the solutions and say why your solution is different from the rest. So if they're not the right customer for you, they can go and do something else. But if they are the right ones, they'll just be like, jump into your products right away.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question about?
Absolutely, and I love that, because having taught neurolinguistic programming for 20 years, a rapport is at the highest level, and I think that people, again, when I agree with you totally, when you're designing your own product, I used to hear a lot of clients that say to me, "Oh, Trudy, this has taken me all year to develop this," and they want to share that, and I say, that's your story, that's important to you, but it's not important. You've got to build common ground. You need to build common a commonality. That's the quickest and easiest way to build rapport. Of course, being authentic is something as well. And so I like that. I like the way that you've just continued to confirm what I've been talking about in this program. And again, I like your topic about the Indian English speaking particular topic as well, because one of the first things that we discuss in this 8-week program is your own psychology, and we talk about how limitations or triggers things can affect you even in creating your own workshop. So understanding that as you progress through your online journey, understanding your own limitations, your limiting beliefs, the way that you speak to yourself, but also understanding the way that your audience wants you to communicate is about what's in it for them. Ultimately, that's really why they're connecting with you. You have some common ground, you have some information that potentially is useful, but not starting with that. I think that's perfect. I know that we could talk about this stuff for a long time, but just in summary, is there any way that you want to summarize about anything to do with funnels, or even just the online journey itself?
To summarize, I think you should just, are you asking me in terms of what they should do?
Yeah,
all right. Yeah. You should absolutely start by building a funnel and keep it really simple. Don't think about it too much. The easiest funnel to build is just a simple email lead magnet funnel. You create something that they want. The best thing you can do is, I don't know if it fits all the businesses, but as I worked with somebody who is really real world sales driven, the best thing to do is to, when you meet somebody for the first time, what kind of questions do they ask, right? When you talk about your business, what kind of questions do they ask? If you have spoken to a few potential customers, you'll know that, because you will keep hearing them again and again. Take all of that and put it into a Google document, right? That is your lead magnet, because that's valuable to them, because as soon as they land in your capture page, that's something that you can say, okay, here's something that you might like, and give me your email and I'll send it to you, right? And then After that, you can just start with something as simple as a 3 to 5 email funnel, right? That's the basic. You give them this, and then you ask them how it is, and then encourage them to come to a call with you, or just encourage them to reply to your email, right? And then you can do whatever. You can talk about your product. You can always start imperfect. And then what is the main thing you have now is you have visibility. That's one of the main things about a funnel. You get to see how many people land, how many people opt in, how many people are reading your email, how many people are opening it. And if you have links in it, of course, you have to be transparent about it in this day and age. And they don't mind. They know that, as long as they are getting value, they're okay with this, because, ultimately it's to help them. So I'd say that's the most important thing. As a summary, you need to start with this. And then from here, you can start to polish it, change it. You can include webinars, you can include any sort of things, right? There's loads of things you can do. But this is the most fundamental, basic funnel.
Right? I love that. I love that. I love that you've simplified it. I know that we're going to go into more extensive funnels and maybe possibly also show people some of your funnels, because I think your actual web type funnels are fantastic. But again, we're starting at the basics, because we don't want to overwhelm or overload people at the moment. We want them to know that it's okay just starting out with this basic system that I've been speaking about through the 8-week program, and you've confirmed that because this is your expertise. So thank you so much, Raj, for joining us, and I look forward to chatting more with you in the future about some of your other topics, but also taking us maybe into the next stage of what we talked about, conversion focused websites, which is again, I guess, a more complex way of connecting with your customers, but also having the analytics and everything else that goes with it. So thank you so much for that, Raj, and look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.
Thanks,
everyone. And look forward to hearing your questions that you may have, and look forward to having more expert interviews coming up soon. Bye for now.